8th class. Today we will read a lesson from your supplementary reader. It so happened. So now we will start 5th lesson, Princess September. Princess September, like each and one of her numerous sisters, receives the gift of a parrot in a golden cage on her father's birthday. The parrot dies, and by chance a singing bird comes in its place. The princess shows off her pet to the sisters, who advise her to put it in a cage. The king and the queen of Siam had many daughters, and the queen said that it confused her to have to remember so many names. One day the king decided to call them January, February, March, due, of course, in Siamese, till he came to the youngest, whom he called September. The king of Siam had a peculiar habit. Instead of receiving gifts on his birthday, he gave them. One year on his birthday, not having anything else handy, he gave each of his daughters a green parrot in a golden cage. The princesses were very proud of their parrots, and they spent an hour every day in teaching them to talk. Presently, all the parrots could say, God save the king, and some of them could say Pretty Polly in no less than 7 Oriental languages. But one day, when Princess September went to say good morning to her parrot, she found it lying dead at the bottom of its golden cage. She burst into a flood of tears, and nothing that her maids of honor could say comforted her. She cried so much that the maids of honor, not knowing what to do, told the queen, and the queen said it was stuff and nonsense, and the child had better go to bed without any supper. The maids of honor wanted to go to a party, so they put Princess September to bed as quickly as they could and left her by herself. And while she lay in her bed, crying still, even though she felt rather hungry, she saw a little bird hop into her room. She wiped her tears and sat up. Then the little bird began to sing, and he sang a beautiful song all about the lake in the king's garden and the willow trees that looked at themselves in the still water, and the goldfish that glided in and out of the branches that were reflected in it. When he had finished, the princess was not crying any more, and she quite forgot that she had had no supper. That was a very nice song, she said. The little bird gave her a bow. Would you care to have me in place of your parrot? Said the little bird. It's true that I am not so pretty to look at, but on the other hand, I have a much better voice. Princess September clapped her hands with delight, and then the little bird hopped on to the end of her bed and sang her to sleep. When she awoke next day, the little bird was still there, and as she opened her eyes, he said, "Good morning." The maids of honor brought in her breakfast, and he ate rice out of her hand, and he had his bath in her saucer. He began to sing again so beautifully that the maids of honor were quite surprised, for they had never heard anything like it, and Princess September was very proud and happy. "Now I want to show you to my 8th sister," said the princess. She stretched out the first finger of her right hand so that it served as a perch, and the little bird flew down and sat on it. Then, followed by her maids of honor, she went through the palace and called on each of the princesses, and for each of them the little bird sang a different song, but the parrots could only say, God save the king and pretty Polly. At last she showed the little bird to the king and the queen. They were surprised and delighted. I knew I was right to send you to bed without any supper, said the queen. This bird sings much better than the parrots, said the king. I should have thought you got quite tired of hearing people say, God save the king, said the queen. I cannot think why those girls wanted to teach their parrots to say it too. The sentiment is admirable, said the king, and I never mind how often I hear it, but I do get tired of hearing those parrots say pretty Polly. They say it in 7 different languages, said the princesses. I dare say they do, said the king, but it reminds me too much of my counselors. They say the same thing in 7 different ways, and it never means anything in any way they say it. The princesses were vexed at this, and the parrots looked very glum indeed. But Princess September ran through all the rooms of the palace singing like a lark, while the little bird flew round and round her singing like a nightingale. Things went on like this for several days, and then the 8 princesses put their heads together. They went to September and sat down in a circle round her. My poor September, they said, we are sorry for the death of your beautiful parrot. It must be dreadful for you not to have a pet bird as we have. So we have all put our pocket money together and we are going to buy you a lovely green and yellow parrot. Thank you for nothing, said September. I have a pet bird which sings the most charming songs to me, and I don't know what on earth I should do with a green and yellow parrot. Well, my dear, they said, it's absurd to talk of your bird when the little fellow flies in and out just as he likes. They looked around the room and raised their eyebrows. Do you mind our asking where your bird is now? They said. He has gone to pay a visit to his father in law, said Princess September. And what makes you think he will come back? Asked the princesses. He always does come back, said September. Well, my dear, said the 8 princesses, if you will take our advice, you won't run any risks like that. If he comes back, and mind you, if he does, you will be lucky. Pop him into the cage and keep him there. That's the only way you can be sure of him. But I like to have him fly about the room, said the young Princess September. Safety first, said her sisters ominously. They got up and walked out of the room, shaking their heads, and they left September very uneasy. So, thank you for watching. Please share, please like, share, and subscribe.